Welcome back to another episode of MotoGP Mac, and today we're going to talk about the sprint race that just happened for the German Grand Prix in the Saxon Ring. Now, before we get into it, here is how they finished. Jorge Martin won it from Miguel Oliveira, Pecco Bagnaia, Enea Bastianini, Franco Morbidelli, Marc Marquez, Maverick Vinales, Brad Binder, Alex Marquez, Marco Bezzecchi, Jack Miller, Fabio Di Gianantonio, Fabio Quartararo, Raul Fernandez, Luca Marini, Augusto Fernandez, Johan Zarco, Taka Nakagami, Stefan Bradl, Remy Gardner, Joan Mir, and Pedro Acosta. As we know, Alicia Spargaro did not start the race and will not be taking part in any further activities in the race weekend. But to talk about the race, it wasn't a very exciting race. Once the first couple of laps were done, it kind of spread out. Some good battles down the field, but all in all, it wasn't the most entertaining edge of the seat sprint race. Although saying that, watching them going through the waterfall is always entertaining, because it is knife edge stuff on that particular corner. But Jorge Martin, he was absolutely brilliant. Didn't get the best start, but was really aggressive in his passing. Got to the front very early and really just controlled the gap. 0.6 of a second here is like 2 seconds somewhere else, really, if you look at it. Miguel Oliveira, really good race from Miguel. He started in the front row. I didn't know whether he was going to stay up there, but he did finish high in this race last year. Does have some help from Alicia Spargaro's mechanics that are not servicing Alicia this weekend, so maybe that is a difference. Not sure, though. I'd need to see him be towards the pointy end of another few races. This is his highest finish on an Aprilia and his highest finish so far this season. Other than that, it was 8th this season. Pecco Bagnaia, he got an absolutely brilliant start, but he didn't look very comfortable on the bike, and then he got a track limits very early on. I think he had 10 laps to go and he still had a track limit warning, so I think he just rolled off and took third. Not a really amazing race from him. Pace didn't look anywhere near that of Jorge Martin's. Enea Bastianini, again, I think he could have passed Pecco. I think he didn't on purpose. But again, it was a good race for him. You could see that he was coming, that he's better on his tyres. He's definitely a danger man for tomorrow's race, especially with how he minds his tyres. Really good race from Franco Morbidelli. I know if a lot of us have said that his career is over, but look, he's getting to the pointy end of the grid and inside the top 10 kind of more consistently now. So it will be interesting to see where he ends up for the 2025 season. Marc Marquez, really good race from Marc Marquez. To be fair, he is absolutely battered after yesterday's crashes. The fractured finger, etc. is fine, but he was saying like his ribs really hurt him. And if you were looking at earlier practices and stuff, you could see he was very, very sore getting off the bike. But coming from, I think, 13th place, really good race for him. Maverick Vinales had an absolute monster of a high side as well. I would class it actually as 2 high sides in one crash. Figure it out, definitely watch it and see what the crash was. But he is very sore, and you could see it, but just lost out to Marc Marquez in the last corner, 0.003 of a second across the line between the two of them. So look, it was a good race for Maverick, considering the damage that was done in the high side. Brad Binder, again, really good. Happy to see him solidly inside in the top 10. Okay, he is 9 seconds behind, but again, he is there or thereabouts. Alex Marquez, kind of expected a little bit more from Alex. I know he wasn't, in the best place, but saying that, you would expect him to be a little bit further up. Marco Bezzecchi, a good race weekend, I would call it, so far for him. Top 10, I know he didn't get a point in the sprint, but yesterday he looked all over the place. Today he did look a little bit more gathered, let's just call it. Jack Miller, he did a really good start, fell back a small bit, as Miller normally does, but saying that, he's knocking on the door, not so far behind his teammate, so, long may he keep going on it and try and get there. Fabio Di Giannantonio dislocated his shoulder bone or whatever yesterday, so um, didn't really expect him to do much. But again, 12th place, it's good enough, solid ride from Di Giannantonio. Fabio Quartararo, again, didn't see too much of him during the race, but again, struggled. You can see, 14 seconds behind in 12 or 13 laps. Kind of really says it all. Raul Fernandez, kind of a bit shocked with this, that he fell through the grid so quickly. Remember, he started on the front row, ended up in 14th place. So not really sure what happened to him. I'll have to go back and have a look at the race again, but he certainly did drop like a stone. Luca Marini finished top Honda, and I'm going to say that again. Luca Marini finished top Honda, which is really, really interesting. And he didn't just scrape by. He was a second ahead of the other nearest Honda. So he definitely did a good job for Marini. Normally, Marini is the tail end Charlie. Augusto Fernandez, not such a bad race for him. If you look at it, he was a second behind the likes of, or 2 seconds behind Miller and 3 or 4 seconds behind Brad Binder. In the grand scheme of things, it's not so bad for him. But again, obviously, he is still looking for a ride next season. Johan Zarco and Taka Nakagami, again, what can you say? 17th and 18th place. They must have chewed up their tires or something. Stefan Bradl also 23 seconds behind. Really good shout out to Remy Gardner. He didn't finish too far off the current race riders, on his first Grand Prix with Yamaha. So really, really good. He did finish ahead of Joan Mir. Now just ahead, about 0.3 of a second. So they were clearly having a good battle all race. And Pedro Acosta, he did run wide and went out into the gravel and came back. And, look, he was catching Mir and Remy Gardner towards the end. But look, he just ran out of time. All in all, it wasn't the best race. Look, some really good standouts there from Miguel Oliveira, Marc Marquez, Franco Morbidelli, Maverick Vinales. Definitely for me, rider of the day was Jorge Martin. He was absolutely mega controlled. You could see what he was doing. Very much so reminded me of Pecco in last week's sprint race. But I would definitely love to know your thoughts. Who was your rider of the day, and who is your race winner for tomorrow? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video.